Hi, so there's been a lot of talk I've noticed on Twitter and a lot of the social media groups, this whole thing about Illuminati. And I just want to give you a little bit of background. I'm going to take you back to 1500s. In the 1500s, we had a consolidation of religious power. We had a church in European church that had basically consolidated all the power of the government, was making the rules for the government, was dictating the lives of the people. And in 1500s, we had a theater group that performed a play called Everyman. And Everyman was a pastoral play or a morality play in which there was a character, Everyman, who was basically just your everyday person. It was somebody that everyone could relate to. And in fact, modern day, if you look at this play, we'll see it in Charles Schwartz's Charlie Brown, the Peanuts. Charlie Brown is supposed to be the everyman. It's somebody that everybody can relate to. The person who gets beaten down, the person who gets all the crap done to them. And it seems like they don't have a friend in the world. And in the play, in the Charlie Brown film clip, Snoopy is supposed to be Jesus. This person or this dog who is always joyful, always trying to get people to laugh, always trying to get people to dance, and never leaves Charlie Brown's side. The play Everyman, and I'm trying to remember, it's been a long time since I've read it, has an incredible influence on the European nations. It creates the Protestant Reformation. It inspires that movement. It's what inspires Martin Luther to hammer those rules, etiquettes on the wall of the church. It created the slicing of the church's power. We can fast forward to 1600s with Shakespeare. We have this whole movement going on. So we have Everyman, the Protestant Reformation, the church starting to lose its power. We have Anne Boleyn, who was the wife of Henry VIII, and in order for him to marry her, she had convinced him to separate from the church. So we're starting to see this influence of church power, of religious power that was on the people starting to be shattered. Here enters Shakespeare. Shakespeare is somebody who could take a play and basically take the entire royalty courts and make them apparent to the common day man. All the scams, all the scandals, all the ugliness that happened behind the walls of the castle was brought to the commoners and the peasants. And what I think was that this inspired those revolutions when the people finally got to see what the real people were when they weren't inside or in the sight of the society spotlight. So we have this trend of 1500s, 1600s, where the church that had this massive control on the government was able to dictate the lives of the people shattered. And then here comes the 1700s. The 1700s is what is assigned to the Illuminati. The Illuminati is this propaganda, fear-mongering idea of, I guess you could best describe it as the idea of Faustus characters who have escaped from the fourth wall and are now descending upon people. The wrath, the rage, the envy, the gluttony, the fear. All of these things are designed to suppress people. And you can get away with a lot of things whenever you hide your actions behind fear. When you have a force such as the Illuminati as your excuse for doing things that harm people. And we see this a lot in our society today, where people will cast off blame onto something else and say, oh no, that wasn't me, that was over them. I call it the sleight of hands magician trick, where you can distract somebody with an emotional event so that they won't see what you're doing over here. That's the Illuminati. I am seeing young people spending so much time dissecting historical artwork and believing that it is influences of Illuminati and not realizing it is the influences of past cultures, because that's what art history is. The same people who seem to have a problem with art history majors are dissecting art history and acting like experts and saying that it's the Illuminati that's influenced all these things. Does that make sense to you? the ones who are telling you that art history is a worthless degree, telling you what you should think in art history as though they were experts. How dumb is that? This whole idea of this Illuminati has just gotten people out of their minds. Let me tell you, theater started in 348 BC. Theater is the moral experiment on a public stage where we can take stories and we can tell you all sorts of things. But there is a propaganda side effect when you do not get permission to play with people's minds. And the theater artists know this, and they will never play with your mind without your permission. We will give you all sorts of lies on stage, but it is always with your permission. People who pull the crap of the Illuminati are playing with your mind without permission. And the thing is about propaganda, it only takes noticing one tiny flaw for the whole entire illusion to disappear. And the fact that the people who are doing these things are hypocrites. They are challenging the theater artists. They're challenging Hollywood. They're going after the people who do the illusions and yelling at them for doing illusions, for basically doing our job, pushing us out of our careers while they play like toddlers with finger paints on your mind. And you're believing them because that's the power of fear. Fear is necessary for oppression. If you are fearful of something, then you can be oppressed. If those monsters look fearful, you won't try to fight them. You won't even look in their direction. You'll look wherever they tell you to, like submissive people. That is Illuminati. It is not real. And if it is real, it is simply a propaganda mechanism to hide the outrageous actions happening in these high society places. They can justify these things and say, oh, no, it didn't do that. It was the Illuminati. Really? Give me a frickin' break. All you have to do is start looking at logic. When things don't make sense, go with your gut and start asking why it doesn't make sense. And I tell you, a lot of times there's going to be a money trail. If somebody is telling you to look in one direction and blaming somebody, just look in that person's direction and start looking for money. Any kind of money influences that might be connected to that event. Start there rather than looking in the blame direction they're telling you. And you might find out that that's not the Illuminati that they're talking about. They're hiding their own actions. And then you're no longer going to be fearful of anything because you're going to be knowledgeable, you're going to be aware, and like I said, there's a propaganda side effect. So as soon as you know that, but as soon as you recognize that, you're not fooled by the monsters of their illusions. And you will be able to take back your mind, take back your heart, take back your sanity, for crying out loud, because our whole entire world is under attack. And all it takes is a little rational thinking. Keep it simple. Look for the logic, look for the money trails, and look at the people first who's pointing the fingers of blame. And you'll be fine.